All right, welcome back, everybody. This is episode 49, somehow, of the PHU Dynasty podcast. I am obviously not Eric. I told him my spiciest take, and he got sick. So he's off tonight. So I got James stepping in for my spot. I'll take in for Eric, and we're going to do some breakouts busts. We're going to go over the matchups for this week, and then we're going to get spicy at the end.
That's what spicy takes. Oh, I can't wait.
Oh, yeah. So, James, how are you doing, sir?
Doing good. Donning the Mike Williams jersey here in honor of our guy. But as we know, the game goes on. Very excited for the game tomorrow.
That's what Jim Irsay would tell us. The game goes on.
In pure, it is what it is.
Well, rest in peace, Mike Williams. It's tough. It's a tough one. But just like it seems like as we've gotten older, it feels like more people that we have known about like die at like an increased rate. Yeah. It's wild. Getting old sucks, man.
Indeed.
All right. Well, why don't we step right into the show? We can just go right into the matchups for the week. I'm thinking it probably makes more sense for each of us to talk about the others matchup. So it's a little more biased.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that.
But we can just jump right into, I'll just start from the top. I've got myself versus the Toronto Battle Axes this week.
Sure, start there.
Yeah, if you want to just jump in, let me know what you think.
I will jump in.
Who's got advantages where? What do you kind of think? Obviously, they've got the projected score, and Dynabook's got their own lines.
This one I was pretty close on. Or Dynabook was pretty close on. We had it at 6. Sleeper right now. I'm looking live here. It's at 5-ish, which I think makes sense. I think it's interesting that you guys did the offseason trade, right? You and GM Scavelli with Fields. So it's like that was a thing. It's like, wow, Scavelli won last year with quarterback. He's like I gave him Goff late. He just Brady, and doesn't he have looking here? He has Russ. Jeez. So like it was a little rough like QB. So him getting Fields, I think puts like I don't say but like it gives him a nice horse in that race versus you. And then running back that's his strong suit, right? And
no argument here.
Yeah, and just
running back matchup.
Part of my core beliefs, right? Trust, belief, accountability. Obviously, there are some, but also shout out Cristiano, but also the running backs, right? I believe, and at this time of the year, right? I heard someone say too today on TV or whatever about like it's about when you play other teams too, and in our hypothetical fantasy world too, it's like all right, you're playing Scavelli when all his backs are healthy, right? So when you play some of these teams with vet players, I guess myself included, right? Like I remember a couple years ago, Scavelli and I played in like week 7 or 8 when we both had some injuries and bye weeks, and it was a 90 point. We were both in the 90s. Like that's where you want to get some of these teams, right? And you don't get him right. You get him when all his players are healthy. And we're gonna get to some other matchups later. It's not even like Cup and Kelsey who are hurt, and some of these other guys, right? Like,
yeah, I would definitely say Scavelli with his team being particularly top heavy with his like just the top end guys. Catching him week 1 is not ideal.
Yeah,
but we're gonna roll with it. We're gonna give him our best shot, and we're gonna hit him with 2 Denver running backs in 1 week because we believe in Sean Payton here.
Believe in Sean Payton. See, P. Ryan, I think, is a good start in some PPR. Like I have in a PPR league, I'm going to start him. I'm sure some other people are considering starting him. Maybe not. You starting both of them is interesting. Against Vegas, though, I do understand it because that game should be lots of points, lots of yards kind of deal. That's what you're thinking.
You would think. I mean, Chandler Jones doesn't even want to play for the Raiders, so that's one.
He's oof. Yeah, he's.
Anyway, I don't know what's going on there?
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, I like that matchup. Vegas defense is going to be pretty towards the bottom this year, especially specifically their secondary, but.
Their secondary. I feel like their secondary's never been good.
Yeah, it's going to be bottoms. They signed Epps from the Eagles last year, and he was probably the worst starter on defense. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he's got a couple of guys that are questionable now. Christian Watson.
Watson's questionable. I'm not even that high on Watson this year. So you definitely take care of my receiver, right? He has Diggs, so it's like okay, and like. You match him or better with Tyreek Hill. I think Tyreek Hill is even if we say that's a wash, then you definitely have with both Browns there, AJ and Amon-Ra. I think that's a good advantage. And then Kittle, Goddard, Kittle's the most roller coaster player out there. If he's healthy and good, it's like, oh shit. But right now he's questionable, so who knows? Maybe he's That's a weird game in Pittsburgh. I see the little sleeper icon has like the rain too. I wonder how accurate that is, but
it's Pittsburgh. Anything could happen.
Yeah, anything happen.
Who knows? You gotta the eerie like weather and stuff coming down from there. You can never predict it. It's always
for sure
nonsense. But yeah, I mean any matchup this year, I feel pretty confident I'm going to have an advantage at receiver. I feel like my top 3 guys really give me an edge.
Okay.
D-Hop on a team.
D-Hop too.
Especially being a 4th receiver is pretty solid for me. So I like that. Obviously,
you feel good about D-Hop's like in a redraft setting, because I considered we're going to talk about Bust later. I can he was a fringe candidate for me.
I had him at in the 24 to 27 range at receiver.
I think that's reasonable. Yeah.
So,
sometimes he gets drafted a little higher than that.
Yeah, depending on where you look, it's like 24 to 31, I think, is what I've seen out there, skewing more towards like the high end, but I've seen him that low too, which is, I mean, it's fair. It's a low passing volume offense, so we'll see. And Burks was starting to like break out, and he got like concussed against the Eagles last year, and he wasn't really the same after. So it'll be weird to see that dynamic and see what shakes out with that team. Should be interesting. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much the matchup for week 1 for us. I think it's gonna be one of the better ones of the week.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's I mean next to I think the Lionheads and the Plague, Vincent. Yeah, it's the high. It's probably like the highest projected. Yeah, 2 teams.
Yeah, we can. All right, let's roll on. Huge matchup right here. We got the Armadillos going against the Baton Rouge Bombers. Obviously, maybe not as like widespread as I would think as far as like projections go for sleeper. 20 points.
Yeah, that's.
We'll see. I mean, Eric's got Jalen Hurts, and he's always a threat to put up 50 points in this league. So, never know.
He sure is. Against New England, though, maybe that is a matchup that's a little less. I do think the Eagles are going to win, but that feels like a lower scoring game potentially.
Yeah, I think the over-under is around 45. So I think the implied is like a 24, 21, 25, 20, somewhere in there. Because I think the Eagles were catching 4.5.
Yeah.
I think so. That seems about right. Belichick's going to have a good game plan defensively coming into the first game of the season. So they have struggled against running quarterbacks, though. Lamar has specifically torched them. Yes. Justin Fields absolutely murdered them.
Last year. And then Cam beat them a couple times, too. So that is –
we'll see. They play a lot of – they play a lot of man. So we'll see what that does for the Eagles. They can beat you whatever way you want it, whether it's him running, passing to the receivers, or the running game. So, I mean, it's going to be an elite offense this year. Totally trying to be as unbiased as I can.
No, I see it. I think a coordinator leaving is a minor thing, but the head coach that's the side of the ball to begin with. So I don't think it's as big of a deal. And the personnel is still all there, which is what you want. Losing Miles Sanders, whatever, Swift is interesting to kind of throw in the mix. I think he's fine. I think he's a player that has to be used in the right way, like limited his touches. I think the Eagles will do a good job of rotating all the backs in, and with Hurts.
Yeah, I kind of equate Swift to like you point him and shoot him in whatever direction you want, and he'll do that. Mm-hmm. But like outside of that, I don't know if there's a lot of room for creativity in his own game. From what I've watched, I don't know.
Okay.
Might not be the best way to describe him, but that's kind of like he's very athletic and a good receiver, but he's not as that dynamic as I thought he was after watching. But still like a plus as a running back. I think he's probably more talented than Sanders was.
That would qualify as a hot take, I think.
Really? I don't.
I mean, just because in like a redraft, in all settings, but not that. I mean, right? and even just contract value, right? Because that's an objective fact, right? Miles Sanders got the highest contract, and Swift was traded for whatever. I mean, he's still on his rookie deal, I guess. I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Sanders has never been my favorite running back. So
okay,
the personal bias kicks in there, I guess.
We all have him.
getting
Speaking of
frustrated
running backs,
with what you have and then
with the great
getting to see what you don't have yet. Grass is
true.
always greener.
Yes.
So, and then he's coming in Hurts, and then he's Justin's team. He's starting Burrow as of right now. Obviously, coming off of a calf strain, so it's a little. We'll see. I mean, I don't expect there anything to be wrong with Burrow, but he might just not be running as much in the first couple weeks of the season, so it might be a little less dynamic.
That's fair.
But
they also always struggle against Cleveland, so that's an interesting thing too. So like that's again, if there's one game, all right. So if the Armadillos get a big, like, well, that's a path for the Armadillos to win, right? That's like the only path is he has to have, it has to start with Hurts. We outscore, like maybe somebody's quarterback like a Burrow just has, a 12-point game, 1 touchdown and a bunch of actually, no touchdowns maybe and like a pick or something. It's possible.
Yeah, I mean that's it. He's got to win that matchup pretty strongly because obviously he's not going to be winning at running back. Although Justin's running back, they're good, but they're not like obviously going from looking at Belly's team to looking at Justin's team. It's a little less, but like when you compare it to Eric's, it's just it's not great.
With Justin, though, it cannot be overstated with Jacobs. Like I've never seen one player so just important. Like Justin's like he does not have a playoff roster in this league without Josh Jacobs there. Like that, so that's just what it is. So
I would agree.
Him there. Okay, we have something here. Like like I'm not gonna sit here he was it. No, like he signed a contract. The Raider, everyone's good. He's playing. All right, good. He was the freaking RB1 last year. Let's go.
Have you seen the over/under for his rushing yards this year?
I have not. Is it low?
It's 1,000.
Wow.
And that was it. Hasn't
still hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed. Yeah. So obviously, like Vegas is implying either injury or just like a total
or Josh McDaniels dumb stuff committee.
McDaniels has never really done committee, so I don't know what. I don't know if that's just a free square and you just take the over and just hope he doesn't get hurt because he'll get over 1,000 if he plays.
Yeah, I don't see how he doesn't. I mean, he literally led the league with what am I?
Like
1,600 yards. That's not. I mean, that's not nothing.
40% like dip. That's
insane.
So I don't know.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know about that, but I mean, if McDaniels is a coach, he's gonna ride Jacobs. He's coming in on a franchise tag, so they have no reason to not just give him all of the touches and just let him pack his bags after the year. He's only 25, but still, just ride him like Seabiscuit, man. Let him take you to all 6 of your wins that you're going to get this year in Las Vegas.
Well, I think the Raiders are going in that direction again. Bringing in Jimmy G from Derek Carr. Like, what are we doing?
So next up, we got the receivers. A lot of young guys that you just don't know exactly what you're going to get on Eric's side, and I kind of like it. It makes me excited. And then you've got just the top-heavy Jamar Chase, and then like it almost feels like a bunch of like wide receiver 3s.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, Godwin as a wide receiver 2 in non-PPR is a tough sell for me, right?
Yeah.
But, it is what it is, and it's fine. It's fine because Jamar Chase as a 1 is that's exactly what you want.
Yeah, he's the guy.
He's the guy.
And Jefferson, whoever, like it's those guys at the top. So can't do much better than that. I mean, as far as like the receivers on Eric's side, anybody stand out to you? Anybody interest you?
Well, I mean, Pickens does. I'm starting him in redraft. I think he has that classic wide receiver 1 talent, and we talked earlier. I'm drinking a lot of Steelers Kool-Aid. I think I think there's a lot there for him and that team. San Francisco, again, not the greatest first matchup, especially they did re-sign Nick Bosa today, which is
I will say the 49ers do tend to give up some big plays. As good as their defense is, their secondary can lapse at times.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Pickens is the guy that could do that.
Yeah. Well, the Niners are the type of team I feel like that would challenge him. Oh yeah, come on, like our guys can cover him, and then he torches them for a big play, and it's like, okay, we got to like maybe takes him a quarter or 2 to readjust, and by then Pickens already scored a touchdown. So, but other than that, Ayuk in the same game is interesting. I think he's a fine, like again in our league with all the spots, that's a fine start. There's he can start for a lot of teams.
Yeah, he fits right into that Godwin mold of like if he's my third receiver going into every week, I'm feeling pretty good.
Sure.
Obviously, Eric in his rebuild mode, he's going to be rolling out as like his guy.
Right now. But that's like one of the more established players on the Armadillos, and I think that's I think the way this is the way it's even laid out there with the 1, 2, 3, I think that's kind of where the pecking order probably stands right now for this Armadillo squad. Addison is, again, a lot of people like him in coming this year, and it's a natural fit as the third target behind obviously Jefferson and Hawkinson, who Justin has.
I'm glad you said that. I feel like a lot of people think he's the second target.
No, stop. It's can we just make Hawkinson the highest paid fucking tight end in history? Like,
no, like everywhere I listen, like they talk about Addison, like he's gonna be like,
again, and he's a rookie, and like he's not a top 5 rookie. Like I have a little more muted outlook for Addison than others. I kind of want to see it a little bit more. But I understand where the intrigue comes from. So
right. Tight end matchup. It's an interesting one. We got Mr. Turd Ferguson.
Mr. Turd Ferguson himself.
I kind of love it. On my end, Dak loves tight ends, and he looks like he's going to be the guy.
Yeah,
I think that's
a fine start
as far as like a streaming type of tight end. And Eric loves his tight ends. I think that's a good. I think I like it. I'm in.
Yeah.
On the other side, you got Mr. Pitts, and we'll see.
This is the year. I think
every year is the year.
Every year is the year.
Let's see, he's coming off a MCL tear, right? A partial tear, something last season that ended his year. So we'll see if he can get off to a hot start. We might talk about him more later. We'll see.
I can't wait.
Any other notes on this matchup? I mean, I'm assuming we're both assuming the Bombers should be winning this one, right?
The Bombers should be winning, for sure. I think. How do we feel about the tight end in the flex spot, right? Or even just having two. I mean, I guess that's maybe even more than a week one question.
Hey, you just said he reset the market, man. He's a starter. You got to put him out there.
No. But Pitts is the.
I think he might do some tweaking to his lineup. I mean, I see a couple guys on his bench that are pretty startable. Maybe some guys that'll be playing some garbage time in the second half. I'm trying not to say what I would do and everybody's gonna make their own decisions. They don't need to listen or would listen to me. But
not everybody's lineup is set in stone at this point. We understand that too. So
I would agree though. Yeah, it's always a little awkward starting two tight ends. I did that the first year or two. I came back into the league when my team was absolutely booty. So
I think it probably warrants it here for Justin. Pitts is the real wild card. Is the wild card. Like we got to start seeing something from him.
So agreed. All right, well we can move on to this next matchup. I think
I'm looking. You want to talk more about Isaiah Hodgins?
He's better than. I think I'm higher on him than consensus, but I don't think you need to talk about him that much more.
No, like I said, the Armadillos did their chance at winning starts with. I mean, again, it starts with Hurts, and then frankly, you need some stuck out players like him, or you starting Mims too. I saw, which makes sense with Judy out. I like that though. Yeah, so those kind of stuck out, I think, starts you have to get to pull an upset or things to hit.
All right, well, let's move on. This is another good one, another rebuilding team, and a kind of rebuilding team, although he thinks he's not a rebuilding team anymore. We got the Cheese Fries going against the Elk.
I love it. Great matchup.
Yeah, I do like it. It's really good. I mean, quarterback right up the top, Mahomes v. Trevor Lawrence, I think is actually, with the Kelsey news, probably closer than...
It certainly is, yeah. And we know Indy's, I don't know what the hell I feel like their defense is not very good either. So
yeah, can you name anybody in their secondary? I can't.
Didn't Xavier Rhodes have a cup of coffee with them, or was that 2 years ago?
I think, I don't.
Vontae Davis, he retired at halftime for them. Yeah. That's all I got for you, Sean.
Between that and I think Jacksonville is going to have a pretty elite offense this year. I think Lawrence could have a great tune-up game to start the year, and that could honestly, him outscoring Mahomes wouldn't shock me very much this particular week if Kelsey doesn't play.
Yeah.
So like that, the Elk off to a good start here.
Yeah.
Already winning the week. move on to running backs. Obviously, I think for both of these teams, this is definitely where it's going to be a little lighter. They both got guys at the top that I think we both like.
Yes.
I'll let you talk about the elk real quick.
Yeah. The James Cook, that's the best the Elk have right now. He's not an RB1 for any of our teams, but the Elk, I understand what we're doing here. But he's a good player. I think he would start for a lot of our teams. He's a good player against the Jets. Interesting week 1 matchup. So I'm very interested to see what the Bills do, because they should want to stop ramming Josh Allen at the goal line. James Cook doesn't solve this. I thought the Damian Harris, Latavius Murray signings solved that potentially. But if James Cook gets any share of touchdowns, significant share, he could be in the RB2 range. I think his floor is kind of what Singletary has done, which is like middling, is like an RB3 basically, right? Like finishing as like RB25. That's like the floor I see for James Cook this year.
Yeah.
And then Zamir White, I don't really know what we're doing. I feel like there's other guys we could start, but sure. I guess we're tanking with Zamir. I mean, Jacobs back. Like, what are we doing? But okay.
Let him live his tank, man.
Yeah, sure.
On the other side, we got Gibbs, Rashad White, a couple of good young running backs. We'll see how Gibbs gets rolled out with Montgomery in that offense tomorrow.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a huge usage in the running game, with their lack of receiver depth outside of Amon-Ra.
Yeah, right. Like, it's. I mean, we're talking about Marvin Jones and Josh Reynolds on the outside, besides obviously Amon-Ra. Like, what are we doing?
Don't forget about Cleve Raymond.
And Cleve Raymond's your classic wide receiver. Like, teams love him. He's a good special teams guy, and like everybody knows, including Cleve Raymond, everybody knows that he's not anything more than a wide receiver for us. That's why he takes the contract that's there. He takes the role. Everyone, it's a great time.
He reminds me of those like random shitheads on the Saints back in like the mid 10s that would be like, why, this guy just scores a 70-yard touchdown.
Yeah, exactly.
He is that to a T.
Yep.
All right, receivers pretty. Actually, I like this. This is good. I think even though the Elk are rebuilding, their top 2 receivers are nice. Like he's good there.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. Smith. Yeah, Smith and Wilson. Wilson, I would say, gets drafted probably about a half a round or a round earlier than Smith, but it's close-ish.
Yeah, I remember when I was doing rankings, I had I think it was Wilson and Amon-Ra or vice versa, and then I had like a bit of like the biggest gap I had in like all of my stats, all of my rankings. There was like a freaking valley between that and then the next receiver, and that was like wide receiver like 10 or 11.
Okay.
And then I think, the next tier down was Devontae Smith. So I would agree. I think Wilson's got huge upside this year. He's got competency at the quarterback position. So I think those projections could probably sneak into more of like the 11.5 to 12 by like mid-season.
I definitely agree. I think he's one of those players that I think he's going to be a perennial second round, first round redraft pick. He's just an excellent, smooth NFL receiver.
Yeah, and then I mean he backs it up with a couple of other good receivers. Got DJ Moore, Drake London, Jahan Dotson, all very quality players and a lot of green matchups from what Sleeper was telling me on here. So I'm sure he's excited for this week to get started here.
London's another interesting one on the Falcons, where it's like, again, they're a running team, so players like London and Pitts, there are I think they're more prone to valley weeks, and I did see that the total, or maybe I heard that Panthers has one of the lower totals of the week. So that's, again, not that you're not starting London, but I'm just saying, like, expectations wise, maybe that's why it's 7.
I think my only concern with London would probably be touchdown upside. I just don't know how many passing touchdowns are going to come out of that offense.
Yeah, no, you're
good for target.
Dead on.
He got very hyper focused once Kyle Pitts went down last year. So I don't expect that to change. He's got the same quarterback he ended the year with. So
that's true.
I like that quite a bit. DJ Moore, hopefully he'll actually get some passes that are like close to his hands.
Yeah.
We'll see. I have my doubts.
I'm a big fan of some of these flex plays that the Cheese Fries have coming in. I don't know if we're against that.
Me too.
Like Dotson is a player that
I'm
a big fan. I have him in our other Dynasty League. I'm a big fan of him. Flowers, I think, is a good start too.
I mean, Dotson could be the featured wide receiver this week.
I did see
he practiced today.
Practicing, but yeah,
let's be honest. Is annoying, and it doesn't just go away unless it's very mild. Which
correct.
I don't know. We'll see. I do like Dotson a lot.
Yeah, it seems like Terry would play, which is good. But even if he is playing Arizona, are you kidding me? Fired up against that team is terrible.
Terry might play the first quarter and be done because they don't need him. So
yeah,
I think I'm sure we'll get to the team that has him at some point. But I mean, that's a fire up Brian Robinson engines all day that matchup.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I like Herbert too. Herbert's just super efficient, man. He had such a good year last year on a really not good team.
It's true. It's very true. And it seems like he should be the main back, right? They signed Deonta Foreman, but he's just kind of whatever. He's good, but he's nothing special. And then the guy they drafted is pretty good, but I don't know how much early on he'll get work. Rashawn Johnson.
Yeah, he's the best in pass pro from any training camp.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
On the field there. But I mean, I think it starts and stops with Herbert and Fields as far as running goes, unless there's an injury. For me, anyway, we'll see.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anything else? I know we didn't really talk about tight ends. I think Laporta is a big we'll see rookie tight end. He's got a lot.
This is one of the few teams that I think at Lamb's headquarters we can say we may be from a redraft setting, not dynasty again. Don't get it twisted, people. In a redraft setting, I think the Lambs are better off than the Cheese Fries at this moment. If Laporta breaks out, I may look like an idiot, the next day. But he's gonna be a starting tight end. So as a rookie, we'll see.
He's apparently shown out really well. So we'll see. I mean,
so is Juwan Johnson. So the other starting. You traded for him.
I'm all in on Juwan Johnson now.
Yeah.
I made a little panic trade yesterday.
Yeah, you sure did. Check the history in our league. He was a Lambs member back in the day. He's a good player.
What's really funny is my two tight ends behind Kelsey in that league now are Sam Laporta and Juwan Johnson because I didn't want to start Laporta
because you didn't want to. Okay,
because I didn't know what a rookie was going to do.
Okay, so you agree that Juwan Johnson is maybe the one edge. Yeah, and even Sleep agrees that's the one edge the Elk probably have is a tight end, but it's a nominal one.
Yeah,
I expect the Cheese Fries to win this one pretty handily.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else on this matchup that I don't talk about. I do love Zay Flowers, but we'll see. That's a three-headed monster at receiver that could go either way.
For sure.
All right. Well, let's roll on down. We can go into the Muskrats against the Lambs.
Okay. Yeah.
Right into it. I'll just run through and looking at the matchups. So
sure.
Starting at the top. Obvious advantage, Justin Herbert. Geno Smith is playing the Rams. That's a good matchup. I think that could be a run-heavy game by the end. I think that one's not going to be very close. So Geno might not be doing much by the second half in that one. And I think that Miami matchup for the Bolts is going to be high scoring.
It should be. Last year when they played, it was more of it was like a 24-17-ish kind of game. So maybe, but I think with the new coordinator for the Chargers, I'm very bullish on the Chargers, as is tradition. So
thinking Kellen Moore versus Mike McDaniel, Kellen Moore, his 4 years in Dallas, I think he was their team was second in offense in that stretch. And then Mike McDaniel they
led the league in points 2 years ago. I think last year they were top 5.
Cowboys are dumb.
Well, I think it's it's classic Jerry business politics kind of thing. I just think, there was nowhere for Kellen Moore to rise up. He had reached his ceiling with the Cowboys and kind of just made it's all right, yes, it felt like a lateral move, but it felt like a diagonal way for him to try and get a new job. But
it felt very similar to the Bieniemy situation.
That's a very good analogy.
I think they're both going to if they teams start off slowly, I think they could both be interim head coaches halfway through the year. Very
sure. Wow. Yeah. That's I don't even know if that qualifies as a hot take because I just agree because I think Ron Rivera is I'm sorry, he's a nice guy, but he's there's been a lot of bad things. Where I didn't even know this, or if I would have known Sam Howell. All right,
if the Chargers start off don't
get me on a rant here, but
4-4, I don't see how you don't pull the trigger and just be all right,
4-4 stop. I think if they're a losing team, if they're 2-6, maybe 4-4.
They are currently going into 2024. I think they're like $60 or $70 million over the cap.
They're in a weird, and
They're in
so
win
the
now.
Dolphins. The Dolphins are in a weird cast. So that's one of the most interesting Week 1 games. I think is the Chargers Dolphins.
I think that it definitely sets the AFC
intrigued.
stage for the rest of the year. I think that it starts right there.
A lot of teams, or a lot of people, like we could see either one of those teams being like a surprise 1 or 2 seed. It's not out of the realm of possibility, I think. But and also missing the playoffs too. Like that's the scale for those kind of teams, I think.
All right, we'll keep moving along here. So RB matchups, I think obviously that goes to the Lambs. I do like the starters for the Muskrats. I think they both took a hit this offseason, whether it's hype for Jalen Warren or the signing of Zeke.
Yeah, he may get some red zone.
So that's easy. McCaffrey, Eckler, very, very high potential for them to finish as like the two top running backs or 2 of the top like 5 at worst. So easy one there. I mean, moving down to receiver, I think I'd go Muskrats on that one. I'm curious to see if like any viability Baker Mayfield can give to Evans and Godwin. I want to see it. Minnesota's a good start because Minnesota's secondary is pretty bad.
Yeah, so I think we can move. I think the Bucs can move the ball against the Vikings.
I don't know if it's fool's gold after Week 1 with them if they have a good matchup against Minnesota, but for me personally, I prefer Mike Evans to Godwin this year because I think Baker throws a better deep ball than he does intermediate.
Interesting.
So I think Evans at least will have a little bit more upside as far as like he'll have like a spike week like here and there.
Yeah, he will. But no, he's probably the weak of the 6 receivers I'm looking at. You know, my 3 and the Muskrats 3. Evans goes the latest in redraft, so that kind of even makes sense. I do think Lamb, though, the Giants is an interesting matchup.
For me, I'm higher than consensus on Waddle. I think Waddle is going to be the top 10 receiver this year.
He was last year, so he could be again.
He was fringe wide receiver 1 in drafts this year. Higgins, I'm lower than consensus this year. And then Ridley, I took him in a redraft. I like him. He's got a big upside this year. So
sure. No, yeah, I think you and I are both on the Jags, and I traded for a Jags player who you hate, but he's in my flex. So
I'm in on the Jags offense.
You're in on the Jags offense. Okay.
I have them going 8-9 this year. So
wow. Okay. Yeah, I don't. I think they're a playoff team. But
I have the Titans winning the division this year.
I love Titans football, so sure.
Yeah. Moving down to probably just the grimiest matchup of the week at tight end.
Oh, tight end. Yes. This is what I'm built. This is what we're built for.
I think you guys should just pull all of your starters and just start your tight ends this week. We'll just see who wins.
It's not the worst idea I've ever heard. Because that's pretty much what
retroactive the points back to the end of the year, but I just want to see. I'm keyed in on this matchup. That should be a Dynabook line for this week.
Just for this week. Schultz versus Baltimore and Everett versus Miami. Yeah.
But jokes aside, like Schultz potentially could lead that offensive unit in targets this year. I wouldn't pick it, but I mean it's not out of the realm of possibility. So he could just get peppered with volume, and
he's a good player, right? I think he's a good player. I think he got a lesser contract than maybe he thought because I don't think he's as good of a blocker. But fantasy wise, we only care about that for snaps. But the Texans are bad, and they just need good football players. So I feel like he'll get snaps.
Whatever your line of averages for the tight end position, I feel like Dalton Schultz is probably that.
Sure,
he just falls right on that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that.
We've already hashed out this Gerald Everett thing. I don't think we need to keep talking about Gerald Everett.
I think objectively Schultz is a better football player again, but fantasy wise, Everett maybe has a little more, and specifically for the Lambs and my team,
much better offense season. Yeah,
with Herbert, that connection and that touchdown upside that's why he has a spot right now. So
yeah, I mean, you get that stack any week, and it's going to give you a bump like right away if you get a touchdown. So. And then the flex is pretty interesting. Talking about the Brian Robinson, start him if you got him.
Yeah, I think again against Arizona, right? That's a pretty obvious start. I don't see why.
I would be disappointed if he ran for under 100 yards week 1 against Arizona. So I think Arizona is going to be just awful this year. I think
so too.
So
I
bad.
really
Did you see that Jonathan Gannon pep talk?
I saw pieces of it. Yeah, not good.
Oh
They're
my
in.
gosh! Who did you guys ride in on the bus today? Did you drive here? It's so stupid. What are you talking about, me? Oh my god, that guy is the cringiest hype man I've ever heard in my life. I
blew the Super Bowl for your Eagles. Tell me how you really feel.
You friggin' you got caught tampering, and then we couldn't sign.
And couldn't cover the same play that the Chiefs ran, the derpy derp play.
That guy sucks. He's he wasn't even a good DC. I don't know how you get.
No, I agree. Well, the Cardinals are tanking. That's why, Sean. It was a great hire.
He's getting Lovie Smith.
Yeah, and they're starting Josh Dobbs because he blew the season for the Titans last year. Dude, the Cardinals are next level tanking, and I applaud it. So
that is true. That's impressive.
Yeah,
there's some interesting ones in here. You got Deion Jackson.
I was going there. You know what? It's a bold week 1 start, but I like it. From his hey, he's the starter. They'll work the rookie in whole, I think. The other running back there is Moss, who's hurt, and I think the third back is just going to be some practice squad Juzemek, who's on special teams. So it's a good start.
And Anthony Richardson. So
we'll see. That goes without saying. Yes, true. It should be said then, perhaps. Yeah. But Jackson will get work. So I think Robinson against Arizona should have more upside. But even if not, I think the other ones, Yeah,
I think sleeper is still pretty split between Robinson and Gibson.
I think they'll both do good this week.
I think in a matchup like this, I think Robinson is the guy you want. Just playing with a lead, being able to run freely against a bad team.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to go. And then obviously this will all be completely wrong when they start playing, and we'll get it wrong. But that's the way I feel right now. Mixon as a flex is ridiculous. He's a top 12 running back this year.
There's nothing behind him, so they're gonna give him the ball.
Horrifically inefficient the last year, but the volume is gonna get him there.
I don't care in fantasy. I don't care. I'm riding this. I'm riding this horse. I'm riding this baby till it burns out. So
I mean, all things considered, I think what really tips me on this one is the quarterback matchups. I think I would go with the Lambs this week.
Okay.
I just Geno Smith might just have a limited upside this week just because of usage that they're going to need from him. So
I think the Rams defense is pretty bad, but you never know. Yeah, but I think Herbert is better.
Yeah, so Herbert's got he's got that dog in him. Anything else from this matchup that you want to hit on? Are you going to pick up a kicker? Do you have any intentions in starting a kicker this week?
I think so. Yeah, no. I'm playing a little bit of roster tiddlywinks right now, but it's okay. We'll figure it out. We'll get a kicker. Don't worry.
Fair enough. All right. I mean, you're predicted to win without a kicker right now.
But that's part of the taunt.
You could style on him and just not start a kicker and win.
No. The points are too valuable. We're not that much of a dipshit to do that kind of stuff. And we respected the Muskrats beat the Lamb. I mean, it was a high score. I think we both scored over 150 last year. So I know the Muskrats are capable of winning. So I'm excited.
All right. Well, let's finish up the matchups. We got probably the matchup of the week, I would say.
Yeah. I saved the best for last. Talk about it. But two of the guys are injured. That should have been here, but potentially.
Yeah, that's true. That is a very good point. So we'll see what happens there. He's already moved Kelsey out of his starting lineup as of right now. So
yeah, wow.
But we'll start quarterback matchup. I think the Plague are always going to have an advantage when you start Josh Allen. He's just a cheat code at quarterback.
Yes. Against the Jets, though, again, one of the tougher matchups potentially.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know his typical lines against the Jets the last couple of years with solid.
They lost a game to the Jets last year where I think Allen threw some picks and stuff. So
yeah, a lot of turnovers last year. He had the elbow issue. The Bills themselves had the season from hell last year, and they still won 12 or 13 games, which was impressive by itself. So but I think I'll still go with Josh Allen. I think the Bucs defense needs to be still respected regardless of who they're playing. So their secondary is very good. So Cousins, we'll see. It's 1:00 though. Cousins is just he's unbeatable at 1 p.m. So we'll see how it goes.
I think the Bucs secondary is real quick. I think the Bucs secondary is one of the better units in the game, but no pass rush, and they have Justin Jefferson, and modern rules definitely give it to Jefferson over the Bucks. Good secondary.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. All right, what about these running back matchups? What are you thinking?
I think it's the duo at the top for the Lionheads tomorrow's game. Again, it should be a high scoring game, and with the Chiefs having Kelsey potentially out or even just hampered, they may want to run the ball more. So Pacheco is a good one. Obviously Montgomery. We talked about Gibbs and getting work with Montgomery. I think there's enough work for obviously both. But Chubb, I'm looking at for the plague. I think one of the low key best moves, and I tried the Muskrats several times on this podcast about that move because I still to this day don't understand it. I think Chubb is a league winning type player, and I think he's just beyond excellent. And that's the best running back in this matchup this week. Even though I know the Lionheads have Bijan lower, Chubb is still the best running back in this matchup. That's just how I feel for now.
Yeah, I would agree. I think definitely we'll see how it turns out with the Atlanta backfield. Obviously, Bijan's going to be the guy, but it's just a matter of like how much of the guy he is.
Correct.
And how they roll that out. But yeah, Chubb is just.
And at the very top, I'm allowed to nitpick when we're kind of doing that stuff. We should be allowed to nitpick.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if J.K. Dobbins can make it through a game with both knees
against Houston. Opportunity. I mean, again, that should be a game that they're winning by a score or something, and they can kind of just give Dobbins some work. He was good at the end of last year too, I thought. Dobbins.
Yeah, he was. He had some solid games. He's only got one career game over 15 carries in his career.
That's a fun stat. I like that. I like that a lot.
We'll see how that goes. He's playing for a contract. I mean,
yeah,
there's that. So hey, he's probably one of the highest variable players I had like on my board this year. Like he could finish as a RB1 and it wouldn't shock me. He could finish the year playing behind Gus Edwards and it wouldn't shock me either. So I don't know either way. We'll see how that goes. These receiver positions we've got, Dan's receivers are probably the best starting trio in the league.
It is.
I think it would be between my team and his team. Personally, but he's
it's
Jefferson, so he wins for now.
He has Jefferson. Yeah. No, I agree. You especially with the Lionheads without having Cup. Having to even like throw our hat in the ring there. Yeah, I agree. I think you're second for starting wide receiver trios.
I think we're looking at a big, hopefully Terry McLaurin is on the field and is productive this week. I think that's going to be huge for them.
Yeah. The Lionheads have been taken on the chin in the offseason here recently with McLaurin, Cup, and JT all out. Having some kind of weird shit week one now. McLaurin looks like he's going to play, but that could always be one of those poison pill things where he plays, but doesn't see that many snaps. Because to your point, maybe they just run all over Arizona and it's just he gets 2 catches for 33 yards and that's it.
I'm sure that's what the Commanders want to happen. So
yeah,
it's possible they're going to do it.
You got to start him though. And it's freaking Arizona. He could be the one that catches a long touchdown early because they're there. So it's what are you going to do?
Yeah, moving down to the tight end matchup, it's a good one, assuming Andrews plays. I mean, Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, those are my tight ends 2 and 3 in redraft this year.
Nice. I like it.
So
Waller's a big swing player, I think, for the Lionheads this year to jump back into being a playoff team, being a real top contender, I think. I think a couple years ago when the Lionheads were doing good, Waller was a player who was rolling, and he got hurt last year. I was reading some camp stuff where he's, Giants' favorite receiver and Daniel Jones. It makes sense if you think about it. I feel like Brian Dable wants to build that offense around Barkley, Waller, and just his mind with, this random receiver here. This there's no receiver that's an alpha. They're all just a bunch of low end twos.
They all do a job specifically.
Correct.
Well,
yes.
And I'm going to roll them out to do that job. That's why I've got 7 of the same guy.
Yeah. It's kind of what Andy Reid has always done, if you really think about it too, with he has a tight end and a running game that he trusts, and then receivers, he's whatever, I'll trade Tyreek Hill, whatever, I can win with Todd Pinkston.
There's no team in the NFL I hate more than the New York Giants, but they've done such a good job the last season and a half of building this team back up. So I think that goes. He's definitely going to be the guy in that offense. So.
Yeah, for sure.
And then going down to the flexes, I think the flexes definitely got to go definitely got to go line heads, which is impressive considering the injuries he has and his flexes are still this good. So
again, it's a little misguided with Robinson down there. It's like Robinson really is his RB1 if we're being technical.
Yep.
But I get it with the Thursdays. Like I do the same thing sometimes. But yeah, what it does is it shows the line heads can win this matchup, and what a sleeper has it 10 points. I'm actually surprised that's still there. I thought maybe, well, I guess Cup having no Cup really hurts, and yeah.
A sneaky like this Keenan Allen matchup for him. I think Xavier Howard is going to be matched up with Mike Williams most of that game.
Interesting. Okay.
I think that
we think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
On the next best cornerback, and without Jalen Ramsey, I think that's a great matchup for Keenan Allen. So I think that could be a high-volume day for Keenan. Okay. So I like that one.
Yeah.
Coming out. I hate Alexander Madison. I think he's not very good. So
yeah.
And is Vita Vea healthy? If he's healthy, they're going to stop the run. So.
He is, but the Bucks getting against the run actually were a little bit off last year. I think they'll be okay though. Yeah, Madison's not that exciting to start, but again, in our league with all the flex spots, it's probably the right play for.
You got to start him. He's volume.
Yeah, for fantasy, you're right. For fantasy, he gets the volume, and that's like let's not overthink this kind of thing. But
yeah. All right. Well, what do you? This should be tight. Obviously, you would hope for a little more health going into week 1, but I think I would like. Once again, I think this league sneakily comes down to the quarterback difference more than we think it does. I would probably go with the Plague this week.
Yeah, I think I like the Plague too, but I don't think it's definitely because of quarterback. Because I think against the Jets, Allen is vulnerable to have the same or about as Cousins. I just think it's the receivers. I think with a hobbled Terry. Again, I like Debo, but Pittsburgh, that's a tough team. You never know. I mean, he'll probably be fine. But again, without Cup, it's just that's the big thing for the Plague is the receivers, and he's got them for this week for now. The tight end is closer again, and the Plague usually dominate everybody tight end, and I would say this is you said you had Waller third. It's hard for me to disagree with that. He's top 5 for me. Maybe behind,
All right. Well, I mean, that's it for the matchups for the week. So hopefully we'll get some good games week 1. I think we should hopefully. I mean, I'm projected to lose by 5. Hopefully I win by 30, but I'll take a good game too, I guess. We can move on. We can talk about a couple of our breakouts and busts real quick, and then we'll move on to the spicy category after that.
Okay, sure. Let's do it.
I'll let you lead it off if you want to go with one of your breakout guys for the season.
Sure. Yeah, I'll here. Do you want common or a little, bag of tricks? What do you think?
You start common. We can work our way up to.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll start with a common one. Other people have had it. James Cook on the Bills. I was talking about it before. I just really think he's a player that next year this time it's like, oh, he's an obvious RB2 kind of thing. And I think he's in redraft. He's drafted as like a flex RB3 kind of player. I think maybe it's me more hoping it into existence, but I think the Bills will kind of realize that they need to run less of Josh Allen. And I think with the floor of kind of what Singletary used to do, I think Cook naturally slides into that. He started off slow. I think he fumbled his first game last year or something. He started off a little slow, but but later in the year he seemed fine. And again, he was a 2nd round pick. Like the Bills have been looking for a back to kind of come in and do some stuff for them. And I think he's a player who can do it. And I think the touchdowns will determine if he's really threatening mid-level RB2 or if he's more of just he's a back-end player. He's a player that I considered in some trade offers and some stuff I was looking at. He's a player I'm very high on.
I think what you get with Cook is just how dynamic he can be in space. I think that's something that you don't maybe Diggs, he's getting older, but there's not much else on that team that you can
That's
say.
a fair point.
Josh Allen, obviously, but I think that sets him up to be put in some good positions this year to just get a lot of yak. I think the team needs it really badly, and I think they're smart enough to know that. They're a contending team. If they're not using the guys to their best ability, then they're not going to be a contender. So I agree there. I think even just on pure yardage, I think he could fight up to almost like a wide receiver or a running back 2 this year.
That's the other thing too. I do think some receiving work will be here too.
Yeah, but it'll be touchdowns. Touchdowns is gonna be huge for him. I think I had it like I am slated for like 6 or 7.
Okay.
I think. And I think that would be
Yeah.
pretty good for like his measurables. I think that's a
Yeah.
quality season.
Okay.
But if it's any more than that, I think he's just a huge riser next year by this time next year.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel for sure.
All right, my breakout guy is going to be Tony Pollard because I think he's got a very legitimate chance to be the RB1 overall. I mean, he's losing Zeke. He's not gaining much behind him. Rico Dowdle is not a guy any of us had on our radar until they said Rico Dowdle was the backup there. So
that's true.
Zeke is leaving behind 12 rushing touchdowns last year.
That's a lot.
And Tony Pollard was just very efficient last year with the touches he got. I don't expect him to be as efficient as he was last year with a volume increase, but I think the volume is going to outkick the efficiency from last year. And I just think he could go off. Like he could have 1,600 total yards and 16 touchdowns, and it wouldn't shock me. And maybe that's not RB1, but it's going to be in that competition.
Yeah, challenging, threatening that thing. Okay. So I have two questions in response to that. I'll ask you the first one live on the podcast. Why did you not make me a more credible offer then? if you thought Pollard was good? And two, hold on. And then two, do you think they'll sign something like one of these backs after, like a Kareem Hunt, Fournette? Because that was part of my math in trading him away. I'll take it on the chin right now. Maybe I was wrong.
Yeah, that's fair. It could always happen. I think it wouldn't surprise me if they did, but I think they seem pretty steadfast and like rolling with the guys that they have right now.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Dowdle. I know they've talked about him. Yeah.
And then the answer to the first question, I have done a bit of a 180 on Pollard since
bit of a 180. Time. Okay.
So I was not high on Pollard. I was shopping him in Galactic at the beginning of the offseason.
And then now you love
him. And then I completely changed my mind.
Okay.
So, which has been very fortunate in the Galactic League because I almost traded him, and then I tried to trade for Judy, and I tried to trade for Cup.
Yeah, you tried to trade me for Cup. I should have gave him.
I really tried to screw up the repeat in that league, and I'm glad I did. Sometimes it's just luck.
Oh boy.
So, but yeah, I think that's one. It's not a huge one. He's still an RB1.
Yeah, but you're saying he's gonna be a top. You're basically saying he's gonna be a top 5 pick and redraft next year. Is pretty much what you're saying here.
Yeah,
because he went top. He was like 15 in our league, and you think
he could also just not be on the Cowboys next year, which could be interesting.
That's fair.
On the tag, but like as far as like without looking at contracts and stuff, for sure, I would think that.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, you want to go into a bust next?
Yeah, hold on. I had a list here. This is a fun one. Everybody loves Muskrat slander. We'll continue it. Damian Pierce. It's just on the same. Yeah. Well, look. So he's being drafted as an RB2, and what did he finish at last year? He finished at overall RB28. I'm looking at. Let me confirm.
Yeah, he's definitely a guy that like advanced metrics love
and that's cool. I'm here for that kind of stuff. 29, but I'm also about reality and price and fantasy. So I think I'm going to start there. Is that he's being drafted too high, again, just even based on what we saw. And I think it's the classic new regime, new coach kind of thing. They signed Singletary. Again, I don't love Singletary. He's not an amazing player, but guess what? He's going to get the ball. And there's still going to be a receiving back to come in because guess what? Neither him or Pierce are really like, you think of this like scat back kind of type. So I think Pierce's snap share, he's not going to have some 80% snap share or anything. Texans are bad. Like, I just think he's going to be finished closer to an RB3, which, shocker, he was last year. Then he's being drafted as like an RB2. So I think that's my bust.
In 13 games last year, just
okay, that's true.
But every
get hurt some
game. So, yeah, I think that's fair. I know he's gotten a little bit of camp hype for like being more involved in receiving this year, but I don't think you don't just like appear one day and you're like, now I'm a receiving back. So
yeah, no, and there's something there for why he was like a 4th round pick, for why at Florida he wasn't used. I'm not saying it's everything. I'm just saying it's something.
Yeah. All right. Well, I can jump into I'll jump into my bust. I'm going to go with a guy that I traded away this offseason. I'm going to take Justin Fields as a bust this year.
Okay.
Sorry, Scabelli. He's
That's why you traded him. You don't
he
believe
was
him.
very much booned off of the fact that he had so many huge runs last
Yep.
year.
Yep.
And I mean, obviously, he's that athletic; he can do it again, and
Sure.
I'm not doubt in my mind he can. I think you get schemed up a little bit more to defend against that stuff, and I think he's got to prove that he can throw more accurately this year. DJ Moore helps, the offense helps, but I'm just going off of the fact of what I've watched so far and whether he's going to improve or not. I think he's gotten a lot of comparisons to like, oh, this is his Jalen Hurts like bump year where he's going to improve.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he hasn't shown a consistency of like improving like in that way compared to like Hurts has. So,
Okay.
so for me, I'm out this year. I think there's a good chance he lands outside of like a QB1, and I don't think he'll be a starter next year.
So you're out on the Bears as even being like a playoff team, surprise team. Like you think they're like a 4 or 5 win team kind of deal.
Yeah, I think that's very possible. I think I had them at 6 wins. He very many times last year he had them within like a couple plays of winning a game. So they lost a lot of one-score games last year, but
yeah,
it's hard for me to say 4 wins because I think that division's kind of sucks. But
yeah.
But I think for them, they're going to make a decision like, all right, we got these extra picks from Carolina. We can move up if we see a guy that we like and we don't think Fields is the guy. And that's kind of where it feels like it's heading for me.
Wow. Okay. I think there's something there. I even going back to that fateful draft where the Niners screwed up with Lance and, Mac Jones was there. Fields, again, not that I'm some draft scout and all this stuff, but watching him in college, I always thought he looked good. The Ohio State thing, right? He's Ohio State, right? Yeah. Yep. Ohio State guy is always weird because a lot of these guys, it's like they're so propped up by all the talent that they never really work out at quarterback. But
it's definitely me fighting a lot of Ohio State bias too, because like every quarterback that comes out of Ohio State.
No, and it's valid stuff because you look at the receivers they bring out, like the receivers are amazing. Like you can make the argument that the receivers CJ Stroud was throwing to last year are better than the receivers he's throwing to this year.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I mean, right? Marvin Harrison isn't on his team this year, so I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, so there you go. But anyway, with Fields, I think there's a little more there with the passing. The rushing, I hear you on the long runs and outliers and how that's not going to happen again. I definitely agree with that. Like that's almost to me like a given because academically, statistically, all that kind of stuff, it's just you just know it's going to regress back. And it doesn't mean he as a player is going to regress. It's just that particular component of his game. So where is he going to make it up? The passing, they get DJ Moore, all this stuff. There's something there, but I don't think it's a terrible take by you.
Yeah, one more part of it too, and it's like I hate to just like pile on, but like he also is very, very prone to sacks because he holds onto the ball way too long. And
they improved the line, though.
It's not your offensive line's fault, and they've taken a lot.
Okay, you're saying.
And they've invested a lot in that offensive line this year. So if those issues are still the same after the season, I think that's another just kind of ding against him.
It's a big prove it year for him, that's for sure.
All right, we say we do one more dealer's choice. You can do bust or value, and then we'll go on to the takes.
Okay. Here, I have a fun one for a breakout. Jaden Reed on the Packers is my breakout. I think that Christian Watson this can kind of be a little bit of the Christian Watson slander on the side of Christian Watson slander. Because I think he gets drafted too high, and part of that, I think Jaden Reed by the end of the year could prop up to be maybe a featured guy in the passing game of that offense. I think Romeo Dubes he's had some moments. He's injured. He's injured right now. Jaden Reed also has second round draft capital like Watson, so higher than Dobbs. And I think Reed again. It's interesting because in PPR maybe he's a little higher. I drafted him in both my full PPR leagues, so he's a player who I'm committed to the take, thinking he's going to be good. I think that the Packers are just a good franchise with knowing, like they're never awful. And like, I feel like they're pretty good in drafting, developing players. So I feel like he's a player who could spike later in the year. I've seen some of his, he had some moments in preseason. I just think, he's a player who's, next year could be talked about going into the year as like a deeper flex play, deep league flex play.
Yeah, I'm in on that one. I think to even like expand on that a little more, I think a theme this year, or like a trend I could see happening, is you could start the year being more heavily involved with like Watson and Dobbs. And then by the end of the year, I think it could be Reed and Musgraves as more of the prominent receiver options in that team. I think they're probably – I really like that young duo there. Watson is a freak athlete, and I think he's got his specific role on that team.
Yes.
But I don't think he'll be a high-volume guy.
Yes, and for fantasy, those are the most maddening players, because then sometimes then you start getting your head and you start benching that player, and that's when he goes off, and like so I've seen Watson drafted 4th, 5th, 6th round sometimes. I'm just like, that's not for me.
I'm going to transition this into my last guy, who I think is a value or a breakout, and it would almost be like Christian Watson is Gabe Davis without Josh Allen, and my breakout is Gabe Davis.
I love it.
Look at the transition. It's amazing.
I love it. Gabe Davis is my guy, Sean. This is weird. We're agreeing too much. Like we need some spicy takes here. I don't.
Oh, they're coming. Don't you worry.
Okay, but no, I mean Gabe. Yeah, please continue with Gabe Davis.
I think Davis.
We're throwing love to Justin's team here. Wow, back
Davis,
to back.
I think it was just he's a post-type sleeper. I think he's like the definition of a post-type sleeper. He had a high ankle sprain last year that kind of ruined his second half of the year.
Yes.
And I think that gets under talked about just a little bit. And I really think just between that and them having the season basically from hell, they literally had a guy die on the field last year. Like they had a really crappy year, and they still won like 12, 13. I can't remember. I think it was 13.
Yep.
But I really think almost at a necessity he's going to be that guy too, because they don't
really have a wide receiver too. I mean, I know they drafted Kincaid, but they don't really, he's the wide receiver too there. So
yeah, I love him this year. I think he's gonna return value. I think he'll be brought back up to where he was getting drafted last year.
Sure.
Next year.
Okay.
So
I took him in redraft, so I think he's going to be a solid player, because the post type sleeper kind of mold, he definitely fits him.
All right, well, let's get into the fun stuff. We'll finish off the pod with everybody's spicy takes here. I'll go through, because somebody wanted anonymous.
I'm going to
do them all anonymously.
I think that's a good idea. And okay.
So I'm just going to go from top to bottom, just off of everybody's, and then me and you will finish off with ours.
Okay.
First hot take: George Pickens will be a wide receiver 2 this year. Thoughts?
Like a wide receiver 2, or like
a wide receiver 2.
Oh, okay. Not like ranked number 2. Like he's the second rank. Okay. Wide receiver.
That's 2. How I interpret it. I really hope it wasn't the wide receiver 2. That would have probably been a spicy take. That would have been impressive.
That would be more. No, this is a little bit of spice, because he is not drafted. He's drafted as like a fringe 3, like fringe 3. This is a good one, because it checks out what a lot of people think. We all love the Cam Pipe. It's just, again, it's that classic Steelers. The Steelers know what they're doing at receiver. Like he's the mold of that alpha.
Yeah. I like this one. I actually agree with this one. I think he's going to be encroaching. I don't think Kenny Pickett's going to be – his touchdown rate is going to be 1.8% again this year.
Yeah, I think so.
Because that would be just he wouldn't be a starter in the NFL after that. So if he even gets to like league average, he's going to be throwing in like the low 20s. And they're going to go somewhere. Obviously, they don't go to Deontay Johnson, so they're going to go somewhere.
They sure don't.
I like that one a lot. I think that one's got a good chance of happening. The next one on here, this one is muy caliente. Tajay Spears will be the starting running back by the end of the season.
Tajay Spears. Oh my God. They all want to kill King Henry. They're all coming for him. They're all the court jesters are just waiting. Everyone's waiting to backstab him. But King Henry's gonna keep living.
You can't kill him.
Can't kill King Henry.
He's unkillable. I disagree strongly. I appreciate the take though. I love the spice, but
yeah,
I think I'm out on this one. I do like Spears. He's very good for a guy without an ACL, but
well, that becomes the very challenging part. Yeah,
and for those reasons, I'm out.
For those reasons, I'm out.
All right, the next one here, it's a more general. There's no specifics on this one. It just says the Browns' offense will stink.
The Browns. Do you agree or you don't agree?
I do agree.
I do not agree. I'm one of the higher people on the Browns. I think it's on the board. They're a playoff team, that they're fighting for the division crown. But at the same time, I also think Kevin Stefanski is a below average coach. So it's like that classic it's like that roster coach sort of issue I have with them.
I agree with that. I think he is one of those guys that he's a good OC, maybe not a great coach.
Yeah.
They were top 10 in offensive EPA last year with Brissett starting.
Yes.
Which is impressive. But for me, I think Watson is so volatile. I would love to take a look at like what the lines are for him to lead the league in interceptions. I think that's a quality bet this season. And I think the turnovers are gonna mount, and that would be my argument for them being
the turnovers. Okay,
make plays. He's good on the ground, and he's got a good arm. He's just, I don't know. He selectively took time off from football too. Like, obviously he didn't agree with like the ownership situation in Houston. I think people forget that he was refusing to play for Houston before all of those allegations came out, which is an interesting choice.
Yeah, I
don't love that either.
Yeah, no, he's a very questionable guy. I don't know. I just like the Browns are. I disagree with this take because I think the Browns are going to be a team that it wouldn't shock me if they're like more in the race than like say like a Broncos, or I think the Jets could implode and like the Browns are more of a threat in the race.
That's fair. The only thing that I can't argue against is Nick Chubb and that offensive line.
That's what I'm saying. Like there's a lot of things about the team that I like still.
I got that stink. I got that stink.
They sure do. They sure do.
All right, we got some more spice here. So this is more generic win totals. So we got Seahawks will win the division.
Okay, I've seen that a few places. All right.
Packers will win division.
Okay.
And then the third one, if this doesn't give it away, who submitted this threesome, the Cowboys will win the Super Bowl.
Is this an out?
I cannot confirm nor deny. Who sent me these spicy takes, but listen, for the Cowboys, I have them winning the division. I think the Eagles are in for some health regression this year. They were very, very fortunate with health last year, and I think that takes its toll a year after a Super Bowl run.
Yeah.
Just for history's sake, I still have them winning. I think I had them winning like 11 games, and I have the Cowboys winning 12, so it's still close.
But
the defense is going to be so good. I think that defense is insane. So
it's amazing. I think them getting to the Super Bowl is actually pretty on the board. I think they're one of the better objective bets, if I'm being real. But
I mean, it's.
I think in Cowboys fashion, they would blow it in the Super Bowl, and because it's the AFC, I think the AFC is better. So I think whatever team came out of the AFC would be better.
I think all things being equal, it's a 3-team conference to me. It's San Francisco, it's Philadelphia, and it's Dallas.
Yeah, well, this person with this take doesn't even buy that because they have Seattle winning the division.
Yeah,
Seattle's a tough eval for me because they were like Geno Smith. There are some numbers that he got exposed later in the year. Potentially,
he would be another interesting bet for leading the league in interceptions for me.
Wow,
I think he would.
That's a fun one.
I think he'll make enough plays to where it'll outweigh it because he threw a lot of turnover worthy throws last year.
Yeah, later. Okay.
A lot of tight window stuff, but Dak was the unlucky one last year, so it can always
flip around.
So with like the Niners, like I almost gave this take that a quarterback that's not on their roster will start a playoff game for them this year. I think that would have been a good take. I think
that is a good one.
I thought about it, but I was like, nah, it's a little too like out there. But that wasn't on here. I just wanted to. Okay, so the final few league takes here. So take one. These are pretty spicy. I like these. They've got Dotson finishing ahead of Chris Olave.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I'm a big Dotson guy. Big Dotson guy. even though it's hard to like factually agree, I just love like this is my flavor. So I agree.
Yeah.
I like this one.
I love Olave. God, that guy got knocked out so many times last year. So small. And Dotson plays like he's like 7 feet tall, and he's like,
yeah.
I don't even, is he even 6 feet? Maybe.
I think he's right on the number.
Right there.
Or at least that's what they list him at.
All right, the next one, George Pickens catches 10 plus touchdowns. So we got more Steelers love.
Okay.
So our league just loves the Steelers this year. Is what it's looking like.
We sure do, man. Boy.
Next one, Ravens will make it to the AFC Championship game. I think. I don't know.
Okay.
It's mildly spicy.
That's mildly spicy. That's yeah. But
they've got the talent. They've got Lamar. He just needs to stay healthy. He wins like 70% of the games he starts. Like he's.
Yeah. Oh no, there's a lot of good things, and and I like the OC. I liked him even before Georgia when he was the OC of the Bucks. Like he did a pretty good job with the talent the Bucks had.
Yep.
I thought he was good.
Yeah. All right, and then the last spicy take on here: Anthony Richardson will finish ahead of Justin Fields this year in fantasy.
Yeah. See, I mean, you're probably going to agree. I don't. Oh, you don't agree? Okay, because so you really think Richardson's bad?
We'll get to this.
I think it's going to be a rough year in Indianapolis. I think that's going to be real rough. It's going to be real rough. So.
All right, so that's the league's spicy takes. I've got 3 myself. I don't know how many you have prepared to roll out. How many do you have?
I kind of have one, and I can have another one or two, but I'll react to yours.
So I'll tell you what. I'll start with one, and then we'll.
Okay, I'll do one, and then maybe I can kind of come up with another one on.
All right. So my first 2, I went back and forth on which one was more mild and which one was spicier, but I'm going to start with this first one, and you're going to love it. You're going to be jumping up and down. Are you ready for it? Justin Herbert's going to throw for 50 touchdowns and throw for 5,000 yards.
Yes. You know I love that one. Look, it's all there. It's now or never for these idiots. Not idiots. I love them. They're
when I think of spicy takes, I think of things that have to be in like the realm of like
that's
possibility. And he threw 41 touchdowns like 2 years ago.
He sure can do it, man. Sure can do it.
That's spicy take number 1. I like it. I don't like it because that's basically half your team, but I do love Justin Herbert. So yeah,
okay, that's a good one.
You roll out your next one here.
Yeah. Well, before I knew I was coming on this pod, this is the one that I texted to Sean, but and it's kind of been curated with some of the news yesterday. I've been hyping up a lot of AFC North stuff, kind of like the Browns. I do like the Ravens. Here's the take. The Chiefs and the Bengals will not win their division this year. I think they both will be playoff teams, more than likely. The Bengals have a little, it's even on I think it's even on the board that things go way south, but I'm not going there yet. Like I'm not saying that. But I think the Chargers will win the division. I support, the Dotson take was my favorite spicy one, but Sean, thank you. You just surpassed it here. So the Chargers, I definitely agree there. And then I just think, I'll just take the field in the AFC North. I think the Ravens could do it. I think the Steelers could do it. Obviously, we all love the Steelers. And I'm the only crazy son of a bitch that thinks the Browns could do it too. So that's my take.
I've got the Browns in 4th. I have the Steelers winning the division. Okay.
So you agree half-hearted. And the Kelsey hyperextend was the final piece of news I needed. Because the Chris Jones stuff, look, I get it. They'll be fine for the playoffs. They're a live team. I always respect the champion kind of thing. We don't need to talk about that. But if we're talking winning the division, no. Give me the Chargers this year.
I agree. I think defense, regardless of defense, I think there's 2 quarterbacks in the league. It's Mahomes and it's Josh Allen for me right now, where you could throw whatever on the field, and I feel like they're still going to get you 11 or 12 wins. But Kelsey is that guy that kind of would push it over the edge for me. That's tough with the receiving core they have. So I'm here for that one. I could definitely see that happening. All right, spicy take number 2. Sam Howell finishes a top 12 quarterback in 4-point scoring.
Because of the rushing component too. Look, he was a top-rated quarterback the year after maybe his second year playing, because they had Javonte Williams and Michael Carter. They even had Damian Brown, right? And then he had a weird next year, but he's still there. A little smaller player, got drafted 5th round. But look, I think he's an interesting player. I just think it's Washington, man. So I'm a little out on this. I would say, I would say maybe like a QB2, but I do think there could be some rough games along the way just because it's Washington, right?
So the second part of this take is he will finish in front of Anthony Richardson at quarterback.
Okay, that I honestly even agree with.
Yeah.
So that's that like I think Richardson, it's crazy in redraft. Honestly,
Yeah, the climb on Richardson's been just insane for just there's nobody there. Like
there's nobody
I'm
there.
not a big Michael Pittman fan. I think I like Alec Pierce more, honestly, as a fit for him. Maybe not as a receiver, but a fit. And then JT being out, and that offensive line really isn't that good. I like Steichen. I think he's in for it this year, but I'm out on the Colts.
You're out on the Colts.
So, all right, what else you got? Give us another one.
I think I do have another one here. The NFC is a weird conference, and this team there's been a lot of weird noise, just a lot of strange things happening all year, and I think there's gonna be a few just things happening that is gonna cause this take to come to fruition. Sam Darnold will end up starting games for the 49ers this year. Multiple games, like multiple games. And I don't even think some will be because of injury, right? Like it could be maybe they pull Purdy because he's like, they're like 4-6 or some bullshit. We or maybe even 2-4, Kyle gets antsy. I just think Darnold, he's kind of that perfect quarterback for what the Shanahans love to do. Cause like, they just want a fucking trigger man. They don't want like a playmaker, guy who does his own thing. Like it's a very interesting thing. And it's like, that's why like maybe Mahomes, Reed, that's what ultimately wins. And maybe why Kyle and his style hasn't won yet. But anyway, I just think they're going to do some stupid shit. And Sam Darnold will end up starting some games, whether it's because of injury or anything like that.
Yeah. Man, I almost stepped all over that take with the random like free agent quarterback coming in and starting.
Yeah, you sure did. Look, I considered taking, Darnold in our waiver draft. I almost tried to stash, but I figured I probably would end up cutting him early in the year anyway. But like, if we had an extra few roster spots and I could stomach a fourth quarterback, like I would like I think he's going to start games for them this year. So
I like it. I'm here for it. All right, here's the take. Here's the spice, the spiciest
Show
take.
me.
All right, everybody, I need to let you know the tight end 1 in fantasy this year for the Atlanta Falcons is going to be Jonnu Smith.
Just get the fuck out of here.
So let me let you know how I arrived to this situation. So Kyle Pitts is coming off of a major injury.
Yeah.
The year after a major injury is never good. See any ACL tear,
sure.
Major ligament tear in the last decade outside of like Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
That's one. His camp reports from the Atlanta beat writers have been awful, like truly bad.
Interesting.
Who is the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, if you could remind me, James?
It's Arthur Smith. So, okay. So,
who is his tight end in Tennessee?
Jonnu Smith. But he busted with the freaking Patriots. Like, what are we talking about here?
Everybody busted with the Patriots. Matt Patricia was their OC last year.
You love Hunter Henry, Sean. I
do. And he also busted last year because that offense was terrible outside of Ramondre, who's the only above average skill position player on that team. Look, I'm not saying he's going to be great. I'm saying Kyle Pitts is going to be bad.
You're saying Kyle Pitts is bad. Okay. This is more of a
tight end 1 by the end of the year on that team in fantasy.
Oh boy.
Scoring. Maybe not snap count, but fantasy scoring.
Fantasy, sure. Wow.
There you go. That's my nuclear spicy take for the season.
Okay, so you would not trade for Kyle Pitts from the Bombers. You're out on that. No. Yeah.
No. I actually traded him away in a separate league last year.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I
got nothing.
All right, those are very spicy. Those are some good ones, and I like it. Good stuff.
All right. I have nothing else left other than holy shit, we got football on tomorrow.
I can't wait, man. It's gonna be great, and good luck to everyone. Right? It's gonna be a great season, and let's go. Let's bring the heat. We brought the spice, but ready to go,
time, baby. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next time.